Indianapolis Colts at the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons favored by 1. I tried to type in Heineke, and it says Heidi me in the notes.
It is a high leverage game, though, by the way. Like, just looking at the
Seahawks?
Yeah.
Well,
just looking at the chart. It's not in the top 5, but it's pretty high.
It's up there. So Colts at the Falcons. Falcons favored by 1. Is that right?
What?
Falcons favored by 1 here against the Colts?
I mean, look, why would I have transcribed it wrong?
6-8 Falcons.
It is right.
Hosting the 8-6 Colts. Vegas not a believer that the Colts are trending in the right direction and tied for the lead in the AFC South at 8-6.
Mm-hmm.
So Taylor Heineke is going to get the start over Desmond Ridder, who's officially been benched.
Yeah.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
What were Arthur Smith's? There were some Arthur Smith comments this week that I apparently missed. Were they controversial or strong or?
I mean, I know they asked Arthur Blank as well. And everyone started to poke at this point, right? Like, hey, who's getting fired and when? And he's sort of saying, well, obviously the season hasn't really gone the way we expected it, but we're going to play out the last games and see, wait and see type of thing. I think we're leading towards an inevitable, parting of ways.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the interesting things when you look at the Falcons, I think this might sum up their season. If you have Premium Stats 2.0, all a part of your PFF Plus package, and you just look at the team grades across the board, their offense has an 80.6 grade. And I don't like a 71 grade. Their overall team has an 80.6 grade. And the team grades are not the best way to break down teams or compare team to team or say this is the best, this is the second best, but it's directionally decent, right? The overall team is good. And they have a 53 passing grade, which is as a team, which is one of the worst in the NFL, of course. The Browns are kind of down there as well, and but we saw that, right? We know it's because Deshaun Watson was hurt. They played PJ Walker. They played DTR as a late round rookie. It makes sense, but the Falcons are really strong across the board in a lot of the grading, except quarterback. And I know we've said that a lot throughout this season, but that's the thing that's held them down. And they made the similar investment, the same bet that the Commanders made. Here's this somewhat unproven mid to late round pick in year 2. We're going to give him a chance. It hasn't worked for Desmond Ridder. And last week was just too much, man. Like I said, the 2 turnovers that completely changed that game against Carolina. And so they're going with Heineke. Theoretically, I always mention Heineke might give more opportunities to those guys. You always say no.
The thing is, it just doesn't matter. I mean, and I think they know that. Like, they've just reached the point. Like, Arthur Smith has reached the point in this season where he is just trying things to try things. Like, I've run out of ideas. I don't have any good solution to the problems. I'm just going to make a switch and hope that does something. And I catch lightning in a bottle, and we get the one game where Taylor Heineke is able to go toe-to-toe with Tom Brady and look like a superstar. And if I get that, we're good. But it doesn't. Like, they're both bad quarterbacks. Neither one of them has any business starting in the NFL anymore. Each one of them, there was a period of time where it made sense to give them a shot. And now they've had the shot. They didn't take it. And the Falcons have 2 of those guys right now and no alternative. So one of them is going to play in this game. It honestly makes no difference which one plays. They're both not good. And even if it did make a difference, they're probably being hamstrung by this offensive game plan that seems to try and outsmart itself at every turn, and instead of just feeding the ball towards the athletic freak shows they have on offense, finds a way of like misdirecting that and instead targeting some rando that has no purpose in the offense.
On the other side, Gardner Minshew playing a little bit cleaner the last couple weeks, got the turnover-worthy play rate down to 4.4%. I mean, if you take out the 12 that he had in 2 games, I know it's, slice and dicing in the data isn't always the way to go. But when you have 2 games where he had 12 turnover-worthy plays, again, what have we seen outside of that? Gardner Minshew's played solid ball. He's played solid. And I think, again, if Shane Steichen deserves some credit for just getting them to 8-6. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Taylor, they're hoping to get him back. I don't know if he's back this week or not, but they've had an effective running game. They've done just enough offensively, and they've had these games where the defensive line has been outstanding, including last week, rushing the passer. So I think, Indy, what do you say about Indy? They're a solid team, good offensive line, solid across the board, competitive. I don't think they're a team that does damage in the playoffs. I don't know if they make it to the playoffs, but impressive that they're sitting here at 8-6 heading into Week 16.
Yeah, the Colts were not expected to win this number of games with Anthony Richardson at quarterback. Like, remember, they were supposed to be bad this year, and it's like next year we'll see the real version of what this team can be. I mean, they lost their quarterback and are still, at this point, potentially heading to the playoffs. Like, that is a serious job of coaching and potentially overachieving from this team across the board. They deserve huge credit for it. They
do. So why is Vegas disrespecting them as underdogs here on the road in Atlanta?
I don't know. I'm picking the Colts. I think they're better. They have a pass rush that can cause problems for Atlanta. I mean, the only, I guess, danger is, look, the feeling is that the Falcons should be better than this and blah, blah, blah. They have won 6 games. They're always, close. And because of those playmakers, they can put it together in any random game where, if Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke don't turn the ball over a ton and they do manage to just feed the playmakers enough, like Drake London can make plays, Kyle Pitts can make plays, Bijan can make plays. They have guys that can cause damage, so it's difficult to write them off in any game.
Yeah, I mean, they're 6-8, the Falcons. They've lost 5 out of their last 7, and they lost by 5, by 3, by 2, by 4, and by 2.
Right.
In their last 7 games. So they're on one hand, they're better than their 6-8 record. On the other hand, were they overachieving early on and just kind of regress back because with that type of quarterback play?
And the problem is more, it's like the bad teams. Like they have, I think, the easiest schedule in the NFL this season. And
all of the NFC South teams have cakewalk schedules relative to everyone else, and no one's over 500.
Yeah, and they're finding ways to lose to some of the worst teams in the NFL. Like they lose to the the Carolina Panthers, who were headed to that number 1 pick and looked absolutely hapless, including in this game. They lose to Arizona, who are also pretty bad. Like they've lost to all the other bad teams.
All right, I'll take the Colts as well. I can understand the line though. The more I think about it, I'll take the Colts to cover, getting 1.